Hey, what's up YouTube, and welcome to part 2 of my how to make a cinema tutorial. If you haven't made part 1, then you will have to complete that tutorial to move on to this one. So if you haven't already got the cinema building that you can see behind me, then follow part 1. I will leave a link for it down below in the description and at the top of the comment section. The thumbnail looks like this. Once you have completed that tutorial, we can move on to, well, this tutorial. So with the actual cinema building complete, ladies and gentlemen, we can now move on to the inside. The first thing that we have to make in here is the floor, which is really simple. The floor is really simple to make, ladies and gentlemen. For now, we are going to rip up all of the grass or whatever material might be occupying the inside of your cinema floor. We're going to remove all of it, replace it with oak planks. Don't forget the booth at the front of the cinema. And once we have a nice completed oak plank floor, then we can move on to the next part. Now that the inside of our building has a floor, we are now going to grab a bunch of other materials so that we can now start adding more detail. So I'm going to begin by grabbing these top 3 rows of materials. These will actually take us pretty far in making the front of the cinema. So first of all, now that we have grabbed all of these, and of course, do pause the video if you need to. Do make sure that you have access to all of these. The first thing that we're going to do is just add a ticket, which is an item frame and a piece of paper, to the front of the booth here. Once that has been done, we're going to come inside and we're going to start splitting the cinema up into different rooms. So that involves adding some walls. To the left of this door, from the glass, we want to add 2 rows of terracotta 1, 2. We then want to extend the terracotta here towards this back wall, and we want to block in this entire wall using terracotta, just like this. Unfortunately, this does mean that I have to destroy the torch. We're going to have to get a bit more light in here, but this is what we want to do to the wall. And we can even connect up here, and we can connect this row of terracotta upwards as well. So you can see that we have just kind of reinforced this wall. And in doing that, we can, along this floor here, if we leave a gap of 1, we want to destroy a row of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and place light blue terracotta in the empty gap with glass pane on top of the terracotta. Leave a gap of 1 and then place another light blue terracotta. Extend this towards the side wall like so. And add rows of terracotta on top of the light blue terracotta. So this will actually make the wall if we extend it all the way up like so. And then if we come outside here, we can extend this all the way up to the ceiling, and we will fill this in as well. That top row actually will probably replace that using red concrete in a second. I'll show you what I mean, but now that we've kind of like boxed this area in, unless we do just have a row of red concrete just below the top here, that might be a little bit better actually. So we'll have a row of red concrete just below there. And then if we just move along slightly, we have our row of light blue terracotta. Well, we're going to add another row inside of this row. And then we're going to build up using terracotta on top of this, leading all the way up to the ceiling once more. And this is kind of going to reinforce the entrance into the actual cinema, so into the actual screens I should say. We're going to have a double door here in line with the back row of terracotta. We want to destroy in front of these doors, and we're going to destroy a row of 2 and just place some red concrete powder in here. Above the door, red concrete, and then we want to, next to this will also be a wall comprised of like light blue terracotta and terracotta, and this does want to get built up. but we want to build it up a little bit later, because now that we've kind of like reached this point, we want to turn our attention onto the opposite side of the cinema, and we kind of want to do a similar thing over here. So we'll come to this side of the door now, and we want to take the frame, and we want to, well, again, we kind of want to wrap just terracotta, good old terracotta, around the bend here, just covering up all of the light blue terracotta and the red concrete, so on and so forth. We might have to, I keep saying this, we may have to get some light source in here, but we want to wrap the terracotta around, extend it up, and then in the ground here, we're going to, once again, we'll leave a gap of 1, and then destroy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, put some light blue terracotta in there, leave a gap of 1 on the end here, and then light blue terracotta. The light blue terracotta will then extend all the way over to the end. We'll build up some rows of terracotta on top of this, and we will build it all the way up to the ceiling. So we'll fill that gap in. It will come all the way up here. We'll fill this area in up above this with terracotta. And then we want to have, I think they're actually even going to drop this a tad lower, but we'll extend this row of red concrete that we already have. And I do believe that that will be dropping down yet another row. So I think it will be actually. So it'll be about here. And that's perfectly fine. Just, there we go. And then let's replace the above row using terracotta. And we'll think about the specifics of it a little bit later on. We then want to, from the end here, so behind the row of blue terracotta, we'll leave a gap of 1, and then we'll place a terracotta, extend it up to the, well, we want to extend it up by 3 rows, and then flare it to the right. We're going to have to add a false ceiling, so we'll just use red concrete for this. So it's going to get mega dark here. So let's add some more torches just about the place. I would use a light command to fill it all in, but then, I mean, then it will be too bright in here, and then it will look a little bit weird. So let's fill the entire ceiling portion. I mean, you could even use iron. Iron would also look good as a ceiling, but we can always alter that a little bit later on. So we just want to drop that, get rid of that. We'll just place a torch on the end there, and a couple back here, because it's actually a little hallway back there. We'll be adding sea lanterns to the ceiling and such, but there will be a doorway here. Left of this, along the bottom, 2 red concrete, terracotta, join it up to the ceiling, 2 red concrete. We want to limit the amount of space here. We'll have a couple of black glass pane on the right side. We actually do need the item frames, unfortunately, so item frames on top of the empty counter space with paper inside there, because this is like an extra ticket booth just in case the one outside isn't available. We want to extend the terracottas along the back here, and we'll leave enough room so that we've got a 2-row wide gap back here, but we do want to separate these 2 little booths. And we are going to use some cyan terracotta to kind of like fill in these back walls. And we do want to have doors in here also. But I don't want to add too much detail because I'm kind of just working on the infrastructure. But that kind of gives you a good idea of how that's going to look. It doesn't require too much more detail, but we will be working on that later. So moving on, coming back to reality, we now want to add another row of light blue terracotta behind this row, the far wall of the ticket booths. So light blue terracotta with the terracotta on top leading all the way up, filling in all of the gaps just as we have on the opposite side there. We then want to have a double door leading from the back here across. In front of it, red concrete powder, and then opposite the door, light blue terracotta with terracotta on top. We want red concrete above the door, just as we have just on that side. And then we need to build up just a really, really high wall of terracotta. This does want to go all the way up to the top. And this is going to be quite useful because we're going to be able to get some natural light in very, very soon. So I want to dig out the roof here. And I'm just going to dig out in the middle of it, so leaving just a gap around the edge. We'll dig all of this out. This will create a nice little bit of natural light as well, so it's not just lanterns everywhere. So we are going to have a sufficient amount of light, but it's just better. Where is the glass? I believe it's in the chest, but I'll grab it now. It doesn't matter what glass you use. I'm just going to go with the black stained glass. Just going to fill this in. We're obviously not going to have these skylights in the actual screens. That'd be a little bit crazy. So I think it's a good opportunity to use the high ceiling for something a bit more interesting. whilst we can in here, whilst it makes sense that we would have like an open roof. So now that we've done that, ladies and gentlemen, the next thing that we have to refine a little bit is kind of like this entrance area here. So let's grab, we will need the red concrete, cyan glazed terracotta, oak leaves, we will need the doors back, and we also need the white glazed terracotta. I'm not sure if I mentioned that we need both the cyan and the white. We need end rods, we need paintings, and we're getting to the point where we'll be adding more and more specific detail after this. So the red concrete that we have for this booth here, we're going to first of all place doors in between it, red concrete above this, or we could even use sea lanterns maybe to light up the booth a little bit, because we can cover it from the inside. So we can have sea lanterns here, right? Extend the red concrete out, cover it up, and then place red concrete leading up like so. And I'm thinking that shall we drop the terracotta here? I don't know. I'm wondering if we further extend the red concrete so that it's like really set in here, and then we can add another row of terracotta to the inside of this, because I'm looking for a bit of depth. And then as we look at this, like I don't know, that just looks a little bit better to me. And then left and right of the booth, we can have the cyan terracotta, and we can have just a couple of bushes built up either side. I think that looks pretty good. I want the center of the floor. So by center of the floor, I kind of mean from like the edge of this plant bar here, we'll leave a gap of 1 and extend to leaving a gap of 1 from the wall. I kind of want to make the center of this room just white glazed terracotta. It's just meant to look like an interesting rug. There's not really, like, it's a nice open space. Like, there's a lot of foot traffic through here, so it doesn't make sense that it'd be like overly cluttered and clogged. And then along this back wall, in line with the tops of these doors, we're going to leave a gap of 1 from the top of the doors, and then have end rods. And then we're going to leave another gap of 1 extending in towards the center, and we'll have a double end rod. And the idea here is very simple. The end rods might actually have to be another row higher. So let's do that. So the positioning's correct, or at least in the x-axis, I do believe. I hope that I've got that right, but the y is a little bit off. So perfect. So underneath, say, the left and right sides, I just want the 1x2 paintings. Perfect, the 2 different ones. And then in the middle here, I want to have another painting, which that one will do. And these I kind of want to just sort of look like movie posters. You've got to use your imagination a little bit, but hey, that's, you know, welcome to Minecraft. And there we go. That's a pretty decent amount of detail so far, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we kind of have to get into the specifics. And I think that the first thing we will do is the easier side, which is over here. So, for the ticket booth side, first of all, we want to have kind of like a little chained off section. So, on the light blue terracotta, we'll have an end rod gap, and then we want to place chains in between. So, that's just so that you can walk around so that people aren't crowding. And then inside of the little booths, we need to have seats. So the seats are really easy to make. They'll be all the way up at the front here. We'll have a block of redstone in the ground, piston on top of it. And then behind said piston, we want to place a flipped up oak trapdoor. Easy. And then in the back of the room, like, it's kind of up to you what you want. Like, if you want to place like a painting back here to represent... Okay, well... a painting back here to kind of like represent a movie poster or something, then that's completely up to you. The ceiling in here, we can just make it like full-on sea lanterns if you like. So I think that works quite well. That feels a little bit balanced, or maybe just sea lanterns in the middle. I'm not sure. I think that looks all right. And then we want to do the same thing just in the opposite side as well. So block of redstone, piston on top. We have to grab the oak trap door, place that flipped up, a couple of sea lanterns in the ceiling. I mean, it doesn't matter. I think I might like that a little bit better, just a little bit more sea lantern-age, as some might say. And then on this back wall here again, oh, we've already placed the paintings in here, my bad. So here, a couple of paintings, maybe just a couple of planks just in the corner here, and maybe even just one in the middle. Is that a little bit too much? That might be a bit too much, so that's perfect. So it's easier to look at this from the outside. There we go, some nice alluring ticket booths. Once the ticket booths have been done, we have the more confectionery side. So for this side of the build, the first thing that we're going to do is place 2 rows of red concrete along the back. Then, on the very back of this wall, we're going to place a flower pot and a brewing stand starting from the back corner. Left of it, we want to place a row of light blue concrete that goes to the top of the ceiling and then extending across to the right, red concrete, blue concrete. Above these, tripwire hooks, and then left of this, we'll have a lever. We're going to destroy 2 rows in the red concrete left of this machine here and place sponge. Around the sponge, we want to place glass, or better yet, on top of the sponge and then 1 row forwards we'll place glass, extend it 1 row forwards in front of itself, and then we want to grab red carpet and place red carpet on top. Drinks machine, popcorn machine. Let's add some sea lanterns to the ceiling because it's a little bit dark. So, if we leave a gap of 1 from this entire area here, and then if we just place sea lanterns in the ceiling, I might actually regret that. We'll probably change that a little bit later on, but to keep it nice and bright for now, we'll probably use lanterns to light this place. We want to place a red concrete in the back here, and on top of the red concrete, we want to place an item frame with some pumpkin seeds. We'll need a loom, red banner, and white dye. So on top of this, item frame, pumpkin seeds inside, loom on the ground, red banner inside, white dye with it, stripy pattern, and then place said stripy pattern around the edge. And there we have a popcorn bucket. So really nice, simple popcorn bucket. In front of the counter space here, we'll leave a gap of 1 and have a row of red concrete that almost comes all the way over to the left. Then we want to grab smooth quartz stairs, heavy weighted pressure plates, chain, end rod, and we want to, on the counter space here, start from the right side, pressure plate, stairs, gap of 1, pressure plate, stairs. In front of this, we want to leave a gap of 1 and have end rod, gap, end rod, gap, end rod, and then chains in between, similar in design as we have over there. I'm not going to add any more materials into the floor. This is looking pretty good. I would recommend adding perhaps lanterns to the sides where we have these sea lanterns. I think that looks pretty good. We can even sneak a lantern maybe just to... it's too much with the lanterns. Now that we've done that, we have to add a little bit of seating in here. This is... I mean, we're kind of reusing the same sort of stuff over and over again, but I really like it. So, in front of the chains, we're going to have smooth quartz stairs on the left and right sides. Dig down into the ground, block of redstone, pistons on top, perfect. If you want to outfit the tables, I'd recommend like item frame, pumpkin seeds, flower pot as a drink, you know, that sort of stuff. Looks pretty good. And then, I mean, it depends how crazy you want to go with detail. Like, you can add item frames, you can put different drinks in it, you can, let's have a potion of healing, why not? So, you know, it depends how crazy you want to go with the detail. We can have more paintings, we can have more posters, we can have more this, we can have more that, but that's kind of like for you to decide. Like, we add a nice level of detail, and if you want to go further and beyond, then you absolutely feel free. But in doing that, ladies and gentlemen, you will notice that the entire lobby or foyer or entrance, I don't even know what to call it, is complete. So last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, we have the actual cinema screens to make. So this is where we will actually watch the movies. So we have to divide these rooms up first of all. Let's focus on the right room first, and we must, first things first, we want to leave a gap of 1 and then place 2 cyan terracotta extending back towards the center, so 1, 2. We're then going to place a terracotta and extend this all the way up to the top of the ceiling. As a matter of fact, we will probably drop this ceiling a little bit, but we'll figure out how high we want this first of all. But we're then going to extend the terracotta across towards the back of the build, and we'll build up the terracotta a little bit. It's likely that we'll kind of like make the ceiling height about here, but, you know, just add a few rows so that we're a bit safe. Extend the first row of cyan terracotta towards the back wall, and then in front of the first cyan terracotta, 2 note blocks, 3 cyan terracotta, 2 note blocks, cyan terracotta. Then, spanning the width of the note blocks, we want to place a row of black concrete behind and on top of the cyan terracotta and extend the black concrete all the way up. We want to have 3 rows of black concrete, and then let's go with this. Let's go with block of iron for the ceiling. Okay, so we'll take out this row. What can we remove? We can remove the red concrete. We can remove the whole thing. Perfect. So we'll make the entire ceiling block of iron, and we'll add some strategic sea lanterns. We'll see how much light we truly do need in here. It won't be too much. We're going to build a little bit of light into the floor, but 1 or 2 cleverly placed sea lanterns should do nicely. In front of the actual screen area, on the left and right, we want to do shroom light into the ground, and also in the very center of the screen with oak trapdoors on top. That will create a nice little bit of ambient light. Then, along this back wall here, we're going to leave a gap of 1 from the door, smooth quartz slab, and we'll have another slab against the back wall as well. Red concrete in between. An entire row of red concrete behind, like so. Then we'll extend the red concrete 1 row backwards, and then extend the back row of red concrete up by 1. The middle 3 rows we want to leave open, so the result should look like this. We then want to have black stained glass pane on top of the foremost row of red concrete. And then this back room here, we want it to kind of like be a projector room. So we need a few different things. It's easier to do it whilst it's nice and bright. So the projector room, it's kind of like a false room, meaning like we want to have 3 rows of... We want to have a floor that just sits behind the first row of red concrete here. But then we want to build up walls using cyan terracotta like this, and we kind of want to box it in and reduce the amount of space. We might even reduce the amount of space that it has from here. I think that, yeah, because the thing is, like, we don't need this much space, so like we need 1, 2, 3, so we'll box this in even more. Along this back wall, we want to grab red concrete, activator rail, daylight detector, black concrete, and paintings? I don't know where we don't have paintings on us, but of course we do have it as a material. So red concrete along the back here, daylight detector, activator rail, black concrete. I kind of want that sideways for some reason. Painting in here, and it kind of just looks like an operating room, like a control room. And I'm going to grab a sea lantern because it's kind of dark. Like, where would a sea lantern go nicely? If we line it up with the entrance, or maybe where we have the glass here, maybe just like one kind of like in the center-ish of the room. So, yeah, that's actually not bad. That's not too bad at all. So on here wants to be a camera or a projector. So on the center red concrete, a black concrete, extend it 1 row behind. And then we want to, this is really easy to make, we'll need the black glass pane, leather with a skeleton skull, grindstone, warped sign, and warped stairs. So we'll have grindstones on top, not facing that way, facing this way. We'll have leather off to the side with a skeleton skull, and there we have something that resembles a camera. Either side of this, we want to place a black stained glass pane, and there we go, a nice little projector room for the actual cinema. Looks really good, in my opinion. We could even face it 1 row back, since that does look a little bit obtrusive, perhaps. We could probably like shove it 1 row back or so, or we can just leave it like that because it is kind of cool anyway. So, either side of this, we want to have chairs, which are going to be warped stairs with warped sides either side of them. Just like this. Perfect. And then we want to have the same chair configuration just on the ground. There's not many seats in the cinema, as you may see, but, you know, they're all high quality seats. Quality, not quantity. And there we go. Like, this is one of the cinema rooms, and I'm really happy with this. I think that this is really cool. And in doing this once, of course, we want to go ahead and do the exact same thing to the other side of the cinema. So this room is a mirror of the previous room. So if we begin from the door again, we leave a gap of 1 and then place a cyan terracotta. Extending across, we place 2 note blocks, 3 cyan terracotta, 2 note blocks, and then a terracotta. add a row of terracotta behind. And then we want to make the screen, which is just going to be 3 rows of black concrete extending up from the width of the note blocks. And then we want to have terracotta behind the screen. So this wants to sit back like this. And then the ceiling, of course, once again wants to be converted into block of iron. So I don't think we need the terracotta anymore, so we'll just swap that quickly. And the ceiling will be a block of iron, and I don't think that we are leaving any gaps. I think that that's perfect. So we'll place a block of iron in the ceiling, and then we can get to, because that is the screen pretty much complete, we can add the ambient lighting in front of it. So there we go, that's the ceiling. And then in front of this, starting from the end, dig down 2, shroom light. In the middle, dig down 2, shroom light, dig down 2, shroom light, and then oak trap doors, like so. And then along this back wall here, we want to first of all leave a gap of 1, smooth quartz slab, red concrete across, smooth quartz slab, red concrete behind, add another row, extend the first row up, come behind now, and then we want to leave the 3 middle rows alone, but then extend up everywhere around it. Perfect. The floor in here, remember we only need, I do believe, let's check quickly. So we only need 3 actual rows inside here. So around this we can build the cyan terracotta box, so to speak. So just all the way around, like this, exactly as we did in the opposite room. And inside this little projector room, we have a row of red concrete across the back. We need the daylight sensor, activator rail, black concrete painting. We also need, of course, the grindstone with a skeleton skull, leather, black glass pane. So daylight detector, activator rail, black concrete painting. And then on here we want to have the black concrete on the center block, extend it back 1, leather, a couple of grindstones on top, with a skeleton skull from the center, then black stained glass pane on the left and right sides. That's absolutely perfect. Black stained glass pane on top of the outer row of red concrete. Then all we've got to do is grab a sea lantern, warp sign, warped stairs, add seats everywhere. You got, what am I doing? And then we want to have 4 seats in total. Warp signs on the side. You can increase the frequency of the seats. You can, of course, make them in a different way. You can make them a different color, but I think everything is nice and balanced. So it's completely up to you. Of course, we've got all the seating. Where did I add the light last time? I think it was above I think it was the center block here, just above the first row of seats. If not, it's close enough, and I'm quite happy with it. And we can remove any of the torches. It might even be too bright with the sea lantern, honestly. Like if we close these doors, not that it makes a difference. That's kind of perfect. We don't even need the sea lantern, in my opinion. Like, it's just bright enough. So all that's required from this point onwards is just going around and knocking out any torches that you might not really want. And honestly, the sea lanterns, because this is kind of like a nice lighting for the cinema. And ladies and gentlemen, I've kind of realised that that's sort of the entire tutorial complete at this point in time. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial, ladies and gentlemen. I do hope that you have enjoyed it. If you have, please do remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the little bell next to the subscription button. That will ensure that you get all my videos sent directly to your sub box. And of course, if you do want to make anything else by me, I'd highly recommend the City Builds playlist. You'll be able to find that first link in the description. Thank you so much for everybody. I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.